What is up, Gang Green Nation, Gotham City, all my Jets fans? It is Tommy Jets, aka Thomas Christopher, here with a special episode of the Inner City Jets podcast. We call it the Jets Connection, and I would like to bring to the stage the other Tommy Jets, New York Jets punter Thomas Morstead. Thomas, I really appreciate you taking the time out to come over here and speak with me.
Oh, you got it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, you've been promoting that your Punt for ALS campaign that you're doing this season, obviously, in support with Team Gleason. I would just like you to really kind of let people who haven't heard about that or don't know what it's about, just to kind of give them the 411 on that.
Yeah. Well, it's been something I wanted to do for a little bit. And, the fact that the Super Bowl is in New Orleans this year, which is where Team Gleason originated, kind of got me thinking about what we could do. And obviously, the team has high expectations this year. So basically, what I'm doing is I'm donating $1,000 to Team Gleason for every punt we down inside the 20 this season, and it's my way of giving back to Team Gleason and Steve Gleason, and also showing fans that I've got some skin in the game myself. This is important to me, and so fans can kind of follow along. The real, other than raising money, the real main idea is to just raise awareness about what Team Gleason does. A lot of people have heard of Team Gleason, but they may only know one faction of what they actually do. And so it's just kind of throughout the season as I'm updating people on our, number of inside the 20 punts and how much money we've raised so far. I'll take that opportunity to also kind of shine a light on all the different things that the organization does. Some of those things include obviously getting technology, the eye tracking software, so that people with ALS that lose their speech can still communicate with friends and family and anybody else. And currently, they're up to 700 to 800 applications per month right now. So they continue to have more and more need. So that's one thing they do. They put on adventures for ALS diagnosed patients to go do things. Like for instance, we're going to have some Jets fans, ALS diagnosed Jets fans, at our Jets Giants preseason game on the field. So hopefully get a chance to meet some of their favorite players and do something fun and have a cool experience with their family. Sometimes it could be going skiing on a quad ski chair, assisted by somebody. It's just a way to encourage people to keep living, keep adventuring, and other things they've done is the Steve Gleason Act got passed a number of years ago, which basically ensured that insurance companies had to cover technology for people that were diagnosed with ALS. So they just do lots of different things, and I'm going to try to highlight that throughout the season. And at the end of the season, for anybody that's donated throughout the year, we'll have a drawing to see who's going to win my 2 Super Bowl tickets down in New Orleans. And then week to week, whenever I partner with a player on the opposing team, last week it was Tress Way, Pro Bowl punter for the Commanders, and this week will be many-time Pro Bowl punter Johnny Hecker. Those guys have been kind enough to donate their game-worn jersey, and we'll do a jersey swap after the game. And whoever donates in that window following the game, or from the announcement to a day after the game, we'll pick a winner for their game-worn signed jersey. So hopefully it'll be a way for us to get some people from opposing teams to pay attention to what we're doing. And grateful to all the opposing players that are assisting with it. So it should be a good thing, and hopefully if we're winning this season, it'll get a little snowball effect, and we'll be able to make a big dent in this thing. So I'm excited about it.
No, absolutely. I think it's a tremendous cause. My friend's father was diagnosed with ALS quite a while ago. It's such a debilitating neurological disease, and I really feel for the people and the families who end up having to go through that, because it's definitely not easy. But kind of, I know you've hosted events in the past with, helping with Team Gleason with the Gleason Grouse in 2017. Could you speak to any other, like personal moments you've had working not only alongside, Team Gleason, but just in the ALS community itself?
Yeah, I mean, I would go back to, I think it was the 2018 season. My first football coach I ever had was diagnosed with ALS, and I was able to get him and his family connected with Team Gleason, and it was a real blessing for everybody involved. Obviously, scary for the family that's going through that. They've got kids, a wife, and you know, there's a lot of fear, and a lot of that fear comes from the unknown, and you're trying to educate yourself, and there's there's always different information out there. So Team Gleason really was great because they basically handed up the family the book, and they said, "Hey, here's all the resource you need. Here's the things that Steve went through and other families have been through. We're just going to give you all the answers to the test, at least currently what we know, and things you need to think about." And so it kind of allowed them to, instead of being going all over trying to get all those answers, they were able to just kind of like be a family, and unfortunately he ended up passing away from ALS, but it was a blessing for the family to kind of get that resource. And so just that was one of many instances that I've watched them do something up close and personal where I was like, wow, they're really making a difference. And it was meaningful to me at the time, and had a big impact on me. And so, again, this is just reason 1,000 for wanting to do something to kind of get back to Steve and Team Gleason.
No, absolutely. As I said before, and I'll say a million times again, I really love and appreciate the work that you're doing. Hits close to home to me as well, as I mentioned with my friend's father, and I know it hits home to a lot of people as well. And for those who end up watching the podcast, I'll have a link for the Punt for ALS so more people can find it, and make sure you guys can check that out after the show or during the show. So I really wanted to touch upon that because it's a really awesome thing. But I also want to talk about some football stuff with you as well. The new kickoff rule. I know you're not personally going to be the main kicker for that on the Jets. But what are your
You never know.
right? Exactly. Hey, got to keep them
You never know.
surprised. I don't want to give anything away. What are your thoughts on the new rule? Because I know it's a lot different than what you've had to deal with, previously in the NFL.
Yeah, it's just going to be different. It's exciting from the standpoint that it's new. Um, I think if there are more kickoff returns, then there's more plays happening instead of just a touchback 4 out of 5 times. I think I think having more action is good. So, and if the play can be safer at the same time, that's even better. So, if it accomplishes both those things, I think it's a huge success. Still don't love the idea that you can't try to trick the team or surprise onside them, but um, that's not my pay grade. So it is what it is. But I'm excited to see how it turns out, like everybody else.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how teams will have to adapt to that and see who they put on, because we've seen some interesting people being put on the kick coverage teams now as well as the kick return teams. So I'm really interested to see how that develops throughout the season. And kind of speaking on kind of these kicking specialists and special team guys. Is there anybody in the NFL, college football, or perhaps even in another league that you're a fan of that maybe like the average fan might not know about?
Um,
I know
that's
there's
a
probably a few guys, but
that's a specialist.
it can be a kicker. It can be like a specialist. How Justin Hardy was last, like with the Jets prior. Whatever you'd want to answer.
I mean, look, there's great players all across the league. I think a guy that just retired, Matthew Slater, is a guy that I don't know that I've ever seen anybody that's got more respect and aura about him that's in the special teams world than him. But he's obviously just retired, and I know he's a nemesis of Jets fans everywhere. But tremendous respect for him, and he's a shining light on uh, you know the way he lives his life, the faith that he lives his life with. I think he does things the right way and is a great example to other to kids and people that watch the game. So he's kind of been one of my all-time favorites.
No, I love that. And with this is a little bit different, but with Devin Hester as a returner getting in, I think we start to see special teams players kind of get an expanded look as they retire and potentially find their way into Canton. And I think Slater, I mean, he's been discussed about it quite a few times, especially for his accolades and his consistency on special teams. I think there's a chance he might end up surprising himself in there. Now I know that you've had a very long career. Most players would be very lucky to have a career length such as yourself. Is there still any like kind of bucket list that you have before you retire, or any stat or goal that you're personally trying to hit?
Um, yeah, I mean, there's certain goals that I just keep to myself because they're um, so outlandish that it's just like a lot of the things. If you'd have told me I'd have played as long as I have, people have called you crazy, So some of those things I kind of keep to myself. I would like to score a point at some point in my career to, whether it's an extra point at some point, but or a fake run or something. I don't know, but probably more likely would be an extra point. But I think it would be cool to go on record as scoring a point in the National Football League at some point. So that would be kind of an out there goal that's not really related to me doing my normal job.
No, it's actually funny. Before when I previously sent the questions, I was one of the questions I had at the end. I was like, well, are we gonna see you throw a fake punt pass?" So I would love to see. Hey, who knows? I would love to see you
Yeah,
get that done. That would be beautiful.
yeah, we'll
Um,
see.
that would be awesome. So yeah, I don't want to allude to like you haven't been old, having a long career, but you have a long career, and it's awesome to see. Truly, is there's like you're one of the best at your position, but everyone always tries to improve. Is there anything specific that you're trying to improve on as you go into the 2024 season?
Um, yeah, I mean everything. I think every year you go back and I try not to be looking back much when I'm in it, and but then after the season's over, you kind of go back and look what you did well, what you could have done better, um, where you could have made different decisions. So yeah, I'm always evaluating that. A long time ago, an old coach said, "If you're not getting better, you're on your way out of the league," and I've found that to be 100% true. And and so it can be a little bit of a mind f. At some point, physically, you're not gonna become more explosive, right? You're not gonna get a faster leg the older you get. So it's it really forces you to find other ways to continue getting some meat off the bone, so to speak. So, and like I said, that can be difficult to do. I remember making the Pro Bowl in my fourth year, thinking I don't know how I could perform any better than I did this year. Like it was so good, and that's hard to deal with, right? And so, at the end of the day, you're if you can keep your mind set on your process and your systems that you have built in place to get yourself to perform physically, be ready to mentally have your brain operating the right way, or maybe a better way is to get your brain out of the way so that you can just be an athlete and do what you do. I'm always looking at ways to get better in all those facets. They all synergize, and at this point in my career, like I said, I'm not going to get a faster leg or be putting on more distance for my kicks. So it's more about finding ways to be more efficient, right? If the average guy hits the punt he wants 3 out of 4 times for 75%, and those three are really good, but the fourth one's not. Even if my three aren't as good as his three good ones, but if I'm hitting at a rate of 9 out of 10 on aggregate over the course of the year, hopefully I can kind of paper cut people to death and be super super efficient. And so And at the same time, having that balance with my mindset of reminding myself that just because I'm the elder statesman doesn't mean I can't still sling it with the best of them. So it's all balance. You're always kind of recalibrating your mind and getting yourself in the best place you can be in. And it's fun. It's a challenge. Every year is challenging, and I find it gets a little harder every year as you get older, and it's kind of what makes it fun.
No, absolutely, and you've shown you've been able to be relied upon just throughout your career, and especially during your time with the Jets. You've become a great fan favorite. And I don't think people really appreciate how much goes into like the preparation of an athlete, not just on the physical, aspects of it, but the mental is probably just as, if not more important. And I think you do a great job of being able to balance both of those while performing at a high level. So I do want to talk about some Jet specific stuff with you as well. There was one player on special teams, Terry Cohen, who made a comeback. His story is incredible. It's hard not to feel for him given, his injuries in his career and, some family stuff that happened to him in his life. Really somebody I really, truly rooted for. It seemed like he was having a good camp up until, he retired. Were you guys surprised by Cohen's retirement?
I mean, I wasn't expecting it, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
Nothing surprises me in this league anymore. I just generally try not to have any expectations. And, I think, it's kind of like being attached to something or someone. If you get too attached to people, the way the nature of the game, it's going to be in and out, in and out. There's going to be different players, and so it doesn't mean you don't get to know your teammates and you don't care for them. But I don't ever know what's going to happen, and anybody that says they do is wrong. So it's just you just kind of do your best. I try to personally try to be a good teammate. If it's a younger player, mentor, it could be anybody that you're just generally encouraging of or you're trying to get to know them. And I think that's the real tough part in today's day and age with cell phones and all that is a lot of times the interactions that you remember, maybe being on the high school bus or on the way to the game or hanging out in the hotels. It's just a little bit different with the technology these days, and so I think the teams that can kind of get to know each other well, and that's a big part of coming together and just getting to know everybody, and because once you know people and you know what they're about, and you realize that that guy next to you, even though you came from different places, he cares about you and cares about your goals and what you're trying to do personally, not just as a team. I think if everybody's tied into all that, you can have a real love for each other and a trust that can, hopefully stand the test of time throughout the season.
No, that's a beautiful answer. I really love that. It's kind of interesting too to kind of see how generations always are different because as you alluded to, I remember back in my high school days just playing football, everybody having fun on the bus, going to the schools, and just like that rah energy, everything's all building up to that moment. And now I've got some friends who have kids now at that same age, and he's telling me that while he's trying to talk to everybody, like the kids are on their phones and not really paying attention as much anymore. So it's an interesting change in the dynamic, and I'm sure you're definitely seeing that with some of the younger guys coming into the league. But speaking of that, it's a kind of a good segue as well. Like, has there been anybody on the Jets' current roster that you've kind of, I don't know about necessarily like taking under your wing or being in a mentor role, but like somebody you've really like likened to on the team itself so far?
Yeah. I mean, if I had to pick one guy, I'd say Stiggers. I'm excited about having him on the team. He's got a real unique story about how he's made it into the NFL and all the challenges he's had, but also he's a schemer. He's coming to me asking me about other punters and how to be able to predict or anticipate where they may be trying to kick the ball, or hey, communication as a gunner, different things like that. He's just, you can tell he's thinking about it whenever time's off. He's wanting to he's wanting to whatever opportunity he's going to get. I think he's excited about, and he thinks everything's important. So I've been impressed with him as a young person. and I'm excited to see him do his thing this year.
That's awesome. That's kind of like I feel like a lot of those guys who have not necessarily his specific background, but just he had to work for like everything he got. It's that lunch pail attitude. And those players who seem to just always wanting to learn more and just soak up that knowledge like a sponge. I think it does wonders, especially as they get into the NFL. So I'm glad that he's taken up that opportunity because he's in a big spot of his career right now, and I know he wants to make a name for himself. So it's really cool to see him going to you for some of that stuff. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
So as the Jets, Jets have Aaron Rodgers this year. We all hope that he stays healthy so the team can really perform at the level they want to perform at. What's kind of your predictions on the Jets 2024 season so far? Do you think we have a chance to finally break that playoff drought? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to be super lame here. I don't make predictions, and I've found that to be generally damaging. So regardless of what expectations are, but like I said, I think what I will say is you know there's 32 teams, and everybody has hope abounding at the beginning of every season, but deep down, if you've been around the block, there's about 20 teams that they don't have a chance to win the Super Bowl this year, and they know it. And if you're a team that you feel like does have a chance, you do have the pieces. It doesn't guarantee you anything, but to know that there's a real shot to have a special group, that's exciting. And so I think that everybody feels that, and hopefully everybody understands how rare the opportunity is. And if we can get everybody's guns pointing in the same direction, it's exciting. So I try not to get stuck on results at all. There's so much stuff that's out of your control. All you can control is what you do, the way you operate, and just doing the best you can at your job, just doing your job. And so I try to focus on that. And hopefully, if everybody else does the same and we all play for each other, we can do something fun and special.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like this is a perfect year for the Jets to kind of catch lightning in a bottle and see where it goes from there. So Thomas, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to any Jet fans? Perhaps give them the hashtag or any other name for the Punt for ALS that you're doing as well.
No, all good, man. I really appreciate you. Give me a chance to highlight it.
Yeah, no, of course, man. I really love you as the player, as the guy. You're just a great person, somebody that Jet fans can really emanate with, and I really appreciate you taking the time out for the show. So that's the Jets Connection episode with Thomas Morstead, New York Jets punter. I appreciate everybody coming on for the show, and we'll